Fantastic to have a mixture of members and interested people who I hope by the end of the night will become members. So we put these events on, they are free and they're part of Equity's philosophy of community, of upskilling and empowering actors and helping us all get more work and have a better time and improve the industry generally. So it's fantastic to see you here. It's very exciting to see a number of new faces and some familiar old faces as well. So tonight we're going to be looking at self-taping or self-testing and discussing that, and a little bit about showreels, less about showreels, but at the end. That might be a whole other forum, I suspect. But certainly self-testing is very relevant these days, with a lot of work coming through, a lot of auditions from the States. It's now world casting, it's global casting, and there's an opportunity has really opened up for anybody to get work in the world. And this is being proven by a lot of New Zealand actors, Kiwis as we see in the news, getting fantastic roles in Game of Thrones and the movies. I know Tandy's worked over in Canada in a Netflix series. I've got a number of jobs in Australia through self-testing, and it's a really fantastic and relevant development in our industry. So I'll just introduce the people we have tonight on our panel. So what we're going to do before I do that is we'll have a bit of a discussion about sort of aspects of self-testing, and then we'll open the floor up to questions. So there will be a lot of opportunity for a lot of questions. So please ask what you want to know, and we will endeavour to answer that. We're going to show some examples. We've volunteered, some of us, of some self-tests and possible showreels at the end. And Gray has got some stuff there too. Yeah. Hopefully. Hopefully it'll work. So Tandy Wright, who is another Vice President of Equity, I'm sure is no stranger to you, very experienced actor, went to Tuifakauri and works a lot internationally and spends time in LA and is very experienced with self-testing. Mike Dwyer of Barefoot Casting, who is a fantastic casting director and runs an agency with his brother and also assists with self-testing. I've done a number of auditions that Mike is an excellent person to get in and gives you very good direction. So it's worth considering him as an option. Catherine Rawlings of Catherine Rawlings Acting Agency is an extremely experienced, wonderful actor in her own right and runs a highly successful agency and is very experienced with what is required from the casting directors both locally and internationally, and will give us some feedback there. And Gray Burton, who is a wonderful actor, director, entrepreneur, and also you help people with self-tests and show.
I do, yeah, I do self-taping and I do showreels as well.
Yes, so it's often good to get some professional help with a showreel. I was recently involved with the judging panel for an international opportunity overseas for a theatre school, but the only way we could see the acting was by a showreel, interestingly. And so the person in New York from the school looked, and myself and another person, Brandon Harcourt, looked at 70 showreels. And we then also could see the people and considered who they were. But the first port of call was the showreel. And what was interesting to me was how varied they were. And the people who made this sort of long and then the short list all had excellent showreels. And there were some fantastic, very well-known New Zealand actors there whose showreels really let them down. They weren't good, and unfortunately to the person who didn't know this actor from America, they didn't present themselves well enough, and so they missed out. And although we could argue the case of the showreel and re-show them, so it's really, a lot of the rules that apply to self-testing will also apply to a showreel in terms of the quality of the image, how you come across, and if you don't have enough clips yet, you can make them up. There's an opportunity to, you might do this great, I know that Gareth Williams does this. You can actually write your own material, find material, a bit like doing a voice demo for voiceovers, and film yourself in a scene or several scenes, and it's an opportunity to use that as a first calling card to get in the door with people as well. So
I've got about 8 original scripts that are basically set up for scene work and doing showreels, which are accessible. Yes. Melissa can pass them on to you.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know Melissa Ansell-Bridges, who's the industrial organiser of Equity, who's just joined us a couple of months ago, a fantastic asset to Equity.
She is fantastic.
Yes. So, Google Stroll is wonderful and the Javu, but Melissa is doing a sterling job and really taking Equity New Zealand to the next level. And our membership's going through the roof with the fastest division of Equity in Australasia, so it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so over to business. So we want to keep this, keep it moving, so we have time for questions. But over to Catherine first, who's going to give us some context of what a self-test is, if you don't know, and even if you do know, some sort of an agent's perspective. Yeah.
I don't know what a self-test is, but what I was going to say is the reason why we as agents get requests for self-tests for actors is probably all pretty obvious, but one of the main things for the overseas casting directors, briefs will come through either casting networks or Showcast. So it's very good to keep your subscriptions and everything, all your details up to date on both of those casting networks. And we get briefs, just like we do get briefs in New Zealand for projects, and we submit. And I think most of the agents only submit very few people, and just your top people in general you submit for that, and they will get back to us and tell us who they want to see. That's the first times we do self-test. The second time is an international casting director will contact us and ask for an actor specifically. They may know their work, the producer, the director, the writer may know their work. We may have sent self-tests to that particular casting director in the past, and so they know the actor and they ask for a self-test. Third reason, if you get an audition in New Zealand and you're unavailable, you can now do a self-test. A few years ago you actually weren't allowed to do that, but now you can, which is wonderful. Fourth reason, and this is something that's really beginning to happen, is that casting directors are using self-tests as a pre-audition. They don't have the budget to do the amount of auditioning that they want to do, so they will ask via the agents to get actors to do self-tests, and then from those self-tests, they will then choose who they'll want to audition. And the fifth reason I'm now coming across is that certain projects, for whatever reason, it might be budgetary, it might be for the way they like to do things, they're not even using a casting director, and they just say, send us some self-tests, and we'll cast from that. Yeah, well, that's the context that we get requested as artists.
In terms of this sort of casting that's happening at the moment, or in the last year or so, have self-tests been increasing, the requests to you for them?
Ironically enough, I think they've stayed fairly stable, mainly because I think more and more people are doing them, or being requested to do them, and therefore the casting director can only see so many tests. So I wouldn't say that we're doing many more.
Sure.
We've got to keep it really selective.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Thank you. Over to Tandy and Gray. Just a bit of some background maybe the process of receiving the brief from the agent, or some other avenue, and what you do to prep for one.
Sure.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll just mention that as soon as you're asked to do one, the first question you have to ask yourself as an actor is, am I prepared to up sticks right now and go to the place where they're filming and be involved in this production? Otherwise there is no point in laying something down for producers, because if they love you and you don't go, then you're never going to go. So you must be available, but you must be ready to commit as well. So that's something that I've always been prepared to be able to go and work overseas. I mean, it can also be very helpful if you already have an existing visa as well, particularly in the States. But that's really the first sort of, in terms of context and commitment, that's the first choice you have to make as an actor before you even accept doing a self-tape. Beyond that, your script prep is pretty much the same as going into regular audition.
Yeah. I would say that with a self-tape, you're not going to have the casting director there who's often got a lot of the background information, so you kind of have to do your own research. I would say it's, because a lot of auditions you'll be figuring out what the tone of the audition is and the show, and so it's often very helpful, I think, to look at what the writer has written before and what the producers in particular have made before. That could give you some clues. If you're auditioning for overseas stuff, you will almost always be sent a script as well, which is incredibly useful.
The full script.
The full script,
yeah.
Because that'll give you context, and sometimes character briefs are useless and annoying and get in the way, and actually just to read the full script is more instructive, I think.
And looking at other producers' work, like shows that other producers have done, you have to make sure you stay squarely looking at the acting and the acting process in that, not the editing, not the cutting, not the shooting style, because generally they just want something very simple to be able to look right inside your essence and see what you're about as a person.
Yeah. I would say also that the audition process overseas is rather different from the New Zealand audition process, and that I feel often here, and this is absolutely no reflection on our wonderful director representation, but it's more the kind of culture here of what directors and producers expect, but quite often here you'll be expected to do an audition and produce a finished product. Like, you could screen this and it would fit right into a program, and so we're looking for that. My experience of auditions for overseas or for self-tapes is more, this is the start of the conversation. It's more, I think they're looking more for an essence of who are you, which is kind of scary, because you have to just kind of be and hope that that's enough. But it's also a bit more inspiring, I think. I guess my advice would be that you need to make the audition an enjoyable and workable process for you, because you can't be second guessing what they want, because you're not going to have a clue. And the chances of getting these self-tapes, getting a job from them, are so slim that you've got to make it an enjoyable and worthwhile process for you. So do what you want to do with it, and do what you feel is right. If you want to have a cup of coffee, or eat an apple, or hug your reader, or what, do it, you know, so that it becomes a fulfilling project for you.
Do you learn your lines, Sandy? Do you always learn your lines?
I don't always learn my lines, and I think this is another thing about self-taping, is I feel like they don't have to be technically brilliant. I feel like the lighting has to be good, especially if you're a woman, and these guys do great lighting
and sound.
And sound. And I'm sorry, it's a sexist industry like that. And I feel like if you're auditioning for the States, usually the grooming is important for the women. It's particularly if it's network television, I'm sorry I have to say that. It's different if it's cable, and again you'll have to go on the project and the feel of the project. But those are things, yeah, they do feel quite different from New Zealand.
Well, it's an offer, isn't it? That's what they're wanting from the audition. They want an offer,
Yes.
as opposed to...
Yeah.
Because they want to know that there's more to come.
Yeah.
They can work.
Yeah, you haven't just rolled out of bed and read your lines. You've actually put some work into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you also get that excitement if you are holding script in hand, you get an excitement that comes through from that whole.
Yeah, that's right. Because often there's a kind of a newness and a life in that. If you don't know the script super well, but you're using it. But what you do, there's a real technique to that. So you need to practice it. Where you're looking at the script and you're bringing the energy back up to the person you're reading up against. So it's no good if you're down here all the time and you kind of...
Because they have classes in the States for that.
Yeah,
they actually should encourage it more here and have that taught.
Yeah.
That could be a...
I still would be, me personally, I'm always super familiar with the script, but that's the way I work.
Yeah.
Unless it's maybe an emotional scene, in which case I will treat that line much finer, because I don't want to ruin the emotion by over-rehearsing it. But it depends what works for you personally, I think.
Yeah, I think spontaneity is, it's the key to what you need, and it's what they love. I'm with Tandy. I always do prepare my lines as much as I can, but I don't try and learn them as rote, because I usually find that if I'm doing 4 or 5 takes in the self-tape, I actually know the lines by the time I do the 5th take. So it's quite a different energy from the first take to the 5th take, and sometimes you choose the first because it's just better and it rings truer. Or sometimes you choose the 5th because it sits better and rings truer. But before any of that, you must do the research. You must do your character's research as much as you can. Sometimes you have no context for where your character is at and what they're doing and where they're coming from. Sometimes you literally just get the script. Hopefully you get a bit more of a brief. But if you know that your character has just had a supernatural experience and is, really scared out of that, and this is the first time they're relating it, then you have to put yourself in that place to start with, in order to go somewhere else, or try something that's around that, as long as you know the context of where you're starting, entering into the story. You can have a clear journey and intention.
What is great now because of Google is that we can, as Tandy alluded to, and Grace, that you can research the company, the directors. You can look in, and I would say it's a good starting point, is to look who's making it, who's the casting, if you know this information, the casting in America or Australia or Britain, what are they casting for? What sort of shows have they done? Is it something like The Wire? Is it something more a Netflix type series, or is it CSI Miami? And see the style of these producers and directors, the type of show that it is, will give you some clue to the kind of what they're looking for, maybe. Certainly, that sort of research is really helpful.
But just on top of that, say if you're getting an audition piece, and I've done self-tapes for actors like this, where it has a huge fight scene in the middle of this dialogue, they do not want you to stage a massive fight scene to show them. I mean, we shot one where the actor is the actor in the room. Where the actor insisted on punching the camera and the camera going down and then talking over. So it was like staging the whole scene. Now, there is a context you can do that in. Like, I know that there was also the story of one actress who completely shot a self-tape as a scene at a bus stop, and it went in front of Scorsese, and he was really impressed. Yeah, and that's a New Zealand actress who did that, and that actually went on. But you either go like fully simple to reveal you, the essence of you, or you go right to the other end, but it still has to reveal the essence of you. Otherwise, it's useless. Well, it might look good in a show, but
you guys who have worked overseas, is it normal, or Kath, and you guys as well, that often there's a recall and you get flown, or you go overseas for the recall, or they want some adjustments and you redo it with some notes? Is that a commonplace thing? If you get to that far, has that happened before?
Well, the only time I've been cast for a self-tape, I didn't have to do a recall at all, which was quite unusual, but they were up, they had a major deadline, and I think that sometimes happens in the States. It's ridiculously kind of crazy, and I got 48 hours notice when I was on the plane.
Wow.
Was that the return?
That was the return, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, you can show that.
Yeah, should we show the
yeah, sure, you can. The reason why this is, and you don't have to show all of it, just show a little bit.
Yeah.
The reason why this is, it's interesting to see maybe because it's not a particularly spectacular audition. It's kind of solid, and it shows who I am, but it's not. I'm not doing amazing acting.
Is the screen working?
Yeah, no, there's sound coming out, and it's not from me. Guys, we haven't even had a chance to test any of this. I have no idea if this tiny little speaker is going to pump out enough sound for you. So we'll just give you an indication, okay? Let's see what we can show. The return, wasn't it?
As you can see, it's not, it's simple.
Very simple.
Yeah.
And engaging. You just get straight into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This might be a good moment to move on to the process of making an actual filming of Open Mic here. Just in terms of, we've talked about the background, you've learned the lines or not, and the back, when you're doing, actually going in and either doing it yourself, or I would suggest a better option is, if you've got time, is to get some help, is to get to go to a studio. Or to
time and a bit of money, because
Yeah.
we're going through, it cost, for a half an hour it costs $50, or, that's kind of how it goes. So a lot of people do kind of like decide not to come and shoot it in their own kitchens, and that's fine. We get to see a lot of tests that come back that are shot in kitchens, and they're very loud and ringy, and the light is terrible, and the framing is appalling, and that sort of thing. So it's your call. I mean, but we also see tests where they are shot. Where was that? Was that a living room?
There was a garage.
That's right.
Yeah, it's nice. Just as long as pictures on the back wall, that looks fine. So we like to, like as Tandy was saying, we like to shoot you and light you and sound you so you look just perfect. The market, they really ask for that. We have screens we can put against you. The skin types are a little bit clashy with our grey walls with greens and blues. We've got really great mics, so you just don't have to project a single thing, which is great. And we always try, well, for cost savings, we try to get you to bring your own reader, someone you probably reverse the scene with, which is good. But if you can't, we can either read behind the camera or get a reader in, that costs you a little bit of money. You know, but we understand as jobbing actors or people who have jobs and do acting that, you know, like it can be a, you know, you start to think twice about coming to a professional, you know. So who in this room has done a drama audition this year? Can you put your hands up? Yeah, not bad. Right, so and who in this room has done a self-test in their own kitchen or this year? Yeah, and who's gone to a professional? So I mean, like so this year, the general thing is that people are willing to tackle it themselves, and that's fine. We noticed self-testing kind of really kicking in about 3 years ago when we had like this massive pilot season that just like was an avalanche, and we were getting bookings and people running in with these thick scripts that they didn't have time to learn. And we started kind of getting information from overseas about the do's and don'ts and what they expected and what they didn't want to see. And there was a lot of kind of myths and legends that were flying around town. Oh, you're meant to hold your script because that means, you know, that you haven't learned your line when you're good. And that means you're more true to the set. Other people were saying, no, lines down, you've got to have this, you know, we need to see you prepare the scene. But the thinking at the moment is, for time, if you received the script yesterday, of course, have the script in your hand, that's fine, but be a bloody good cold reader, you know. And there's some pretty basic cold reading tricks you can see on the net. But if you've had it for over a weekend, be off the page because it's just nicer. I mean, I know as an actor, and you know as an actor, it just feels better that you're off the page and you can, you know, the connection which we need so desperately, or want with, you know, the reader is going to be there. So, as viewers, we like to kind of think that we're ahead of you. You know, we want to see you, we want to guess where you're going as the actor when you're looking on screen. And if you're just back off the words, we're just sitting waiting, as opposed to you taking us with you. You know, we notice, I'd say within the first 2 seconds, you know the person is worth watching. So remember, your beginnings have to be incredibly good. You know, you have to have, and you know, think about it like this is a person who's lived before this scene, has the scene, and it's going to keep on living after that scene. It's not sort of like get ready to go and stop. You know, so. But I think what these guys said was really true. Research, research, research. You know, IMDb is your friend. Just like research everything it produces. Anna Hutchison, she does a lot of work in LA. You know, when I said to her, you know, what's it like? You're blonde, you're blue-eyed, you're female, you're white. I mean, like she said, yes, there are thousands of me out there, but you've got to, you know, the way to stick out is to be great. You know, you can go out there and be average. So she just goes into auditions and she loves blowing them away by being great, by being so prepared. You know, that small talk conversation can be so, you know, you can absolutely blow it if you don't know who the producer is or what they've done, or maybe you're not meant to talk about their last project because it sucked, or, you know, like, you know, you've got to kind of like have that. So she said that's how she excelled, and that's how she loved watching cynical, bitchy casting directors who, because they just go in for reads first, and that's not even in the casting studio. That's just across the desk with a microphone and a camera sitting there, and they are emailing as she's doing the scene. And they go, but she loves going, you know, because you know she's just another blonde chick coming in. She loved sitting down and knocking them out, you know, out of their emailing, you know, miasma, and like they're stopping, going, oh wait, okay, can you do that? You know, like, so that's the thing. It's like you have so much power to you know, research. And you know, inject that power into your scenes. Yeah. For us, we sometimes don't get a chance to research ourselves as well. So we're flying blind. So we're probably just going to go with something like, you know, genre, style. Who is it? Okay, it's going to be kind of closer to this. We wouldn't have had the chance to read the whole script like you guys would have. You know, sometimes our readers come running in late bus, and they're going to have to sit there and do a bloody cold read as well. So, you know, but we try and at least kind of be on your side, you know, be prepared. We we'll want to know the style and scene. And, you know, it's really quite interesting adjustments, you know, how, because, you know, you go in with all the best knowledge, and then people come back and they say that was nowhere near what we, excuse me, that was nowhere near what we wanted. And you're going, well, I thought we used our brain, I thought that we actually kind of, you know, this was a scene that we can do this a lot. So you do have to kind of put the ego aside and go, okay, great, so this is what you want, you know. I think that's always key. It's like, don't say, I'm going to give you exactly what you need when maybe you don't know, you know.
Do you direct?
Yeah.
Because you do,
Yeah.
what kind of direction do you give, as you say, because you are flying a little bit blind?
Well, I've got a great story about doing this.
Here we go.
So my very first self-tape in Auckland was I was only just back after about 9 years away, and about 2 months in, I got the self-tape for G.I. Joe 2. Yeah? Awesome, good quality stuff. And, but kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I got all in the commando costume with the gun, firing the gun, you know, the blank gun out of shot and stuff, and trying to get right into the scene and do the scene. And at the time, Green Lantern, I think, the movie was out. And after we'd done one take of it, Mike took me and said, come with me, come with me. And we went into the office and we watched the trailer for Green Lantern.
Yeah.
He said, look, you're sort of pitching it here, and these guys are playing it up here on this kind of level and this kind of stake. So just the volume and the attack and the intention and the clarity has to go up into here, pitch up into here. And so we went back, we did it a couple more times, and I probably got it to about there. And they cast The Rock.
Well, there seems to be, it's kind of interesting because with a self-test, you have the opportunity to spend all day on it if you want.
Yeah.
So when you do a normal audition, you will go in and you might have 5 or 10 minutes. And you go in and it's the casting director's room. And it's their room, and there's a lot of tips about how to do a good audition and to be as relaxed as possible and to bring something different and to make it your own. But they're running the show. But with a self-test, you're running the show. You can spend, if you've got the time, if you've got enough time to do it, entire day. And I spent hours on the self-test myself, but sometimes that's not the best I've done though, because sometimes I need some feedback. It's the other side of the coin. Is that I can get into a knot. I've tried to myself save money, and I've got myself a bit of knot. I've done 20 takes. I don't know what is the best one. I could lose perspective, but I just get it in on time. And that's often going to be the worst case scenario. So sometimes it's really great to have an outside eye, someone you trust, like Mike or Gray or someone else that who's there, who can give you a bit of feedback. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I've got no idea actually. I find it very hard to know who's really good or really shit.
No, I agree. I think often we are not the best judge of our work. And I find it really useful to go in, and usually if I go in and see Mike, we'll do something that my version of it, and then Mike will say, you know, tap it here, try this, give it a go, and it's just really helpful because also it just kind of gets you out of your own head a little bit.
And someone you trust,
And they can be over-laboured, you know. I mean, like, when we receive self-tests, you can almost smell the keenness and the desire. It's like, whoa, you know, it's like, you know,
get it your own way.
Freshness, charisma, just that's all we're looking for, really, is the key, really.
Another thing that can really affect your self-tape, and that if you have the opportunity to try out, is having a different reader. It can really affect, like, actually changing
You
the
need a
reader.
good
Oh,
reader.
okay.
I did one over 2 days where I had 2 different readers for Game of Thrones, and it was the first one. It ended up looking like a pirate, you know, a pirate, because the reader I had was like a pirate, and there's attack with the words, and so I was matching his energy, and then actually the next day came back in with another guy, and I said, I'm going to be a pirate. It's not a pirate. and this guy just said it, Kiwi accent, totally neutrally, just let me, just neutral, very, and also vocally, because a reader is usually closer to the camera. You actually have to be really careful that the reader doesn't overpower your audition, and that you don't have to theatrically project, because all that is presenting stuff out. It's not inviting things in. So I could show a little bit of those too. Shall I do that?
Yeah.
The second one I was much happier with, but I didn't. Another thing I did, I'll just point this out. Another thing I did on the second one is I changed the white balance as well in the second one. So because it's supposed to be in the middle of a blizzard, No.
So, Greg, were you doing the camera as well? You just
No. I had a
So
camera
someone's on
person,
it.
and that was at my home studio.
Yeah.
I had a camera person, and I had a reader. And it actually had a female character reading as well, which I actually dubbed in later, but we don't get to that. It doesn't matter. But idea of just that whole change of intimacy, and also me listening more to the reader too.
Did you make a decision about having that side lighting?
No, it was just a lack of balancing lighting. I just had too much sunlight coming in, and also the projector is actually quite overblown in what's projecting. But that is something you've got to be really careful about. If you you've got to be really careful about the lighting. I mean, particularly just these shadows through here.
Yeah.
You really need to have that good balance. I mean, for guys, I wasn't so concerned, because what was happening was we were using daylight, but both those days you had clouds going over. So mid-scene, if you set your settings on the camera, it would overblow the picture, or it would get too dark, and all of a sudden you're not looking at the performance. Everything you put into getting yourself onto that screen has to highlight your performance, and they shouldn't be thinking about anything else.
The one that you did with Gareth was natural lighting, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, but the one I've done, the one that I've done here is also natural light. So, but he's got a real camera, so it's kind of, I think, either really good natural light, or if you're in a studio, really good studio lighting to your advantage.
Balancing is really good, simply because the side lighting, when people can get irritating. Like,
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing to shoot my movie for me, it's like, no, it's like, that's what the light was.
Simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I reckon we should. That was really great, guys. Thank you. I think we should open up to the questions now, and we've got a few more clips we can show when there's some breaks.
Can I just say as well that sometimes self-tapes will lead somewhere you didn't think that they would.
Yeah.
And so even if you don't get cast from a self-tape, I think, and sometimes I think, oh, I have to learn this bloody thing, I'll never get cast, it's ridiculous, but it's a good casting director. So I'll do it, and I'll do the best job that I can, because I want to start getting known by that. And these relationships take years to foster. Unfortunately, I know success comes very quickly for some people, but most of us plod on for years. And we form relationships with people, and we go to LA and we meet people and we think nothing's happened, and then a year later you'll get something for them. So it's
never a waste of an opportunity, is it?
It never is.
No.
And one of the pieces that I've got up there, I self-taped for something, and my Australian agent, unbeknownst to me, sent it to some US managers, and they had a look at it and they said, oh, look, we like her, can we, it was part of the season, they said, we'll just send a bit of material, maybe she could take something for us. And then the casting director saw it. It's not a particularly good audition. The casting director saw it and she said, well, if you want, you can take it again, because I feel like you missed some of the comedy in that, so why don't you do it again with those adjustments in mind. So I did it again, and the same US managers saw it, and they, on the strength of that, offered to represent me.
Wow.
Which was something that I had not been looking for, and it was actually only because I've got a really great Australian agent.
Have you got those clips here? Should we look at them?
Yeah.
Do you want to look at the first one?
Yeah, so the first one is the one sort of in beige.
That was sent and then was adjusted.
Yeah.
Cool. The second one.
So, well, the note was that I'd missed a lot of the comedy. That show was, I don't know if you know Rate, the Australian show. Beautiful. Oh, you must all watch it. It's very funny and quite fruity and very Australian, but this wonderful actor, Richard Roxburgh, is the main lead in it. But they were doing the American version. So that was auditions for the American version. They, of course, made it. Fucked it up completely. But, yeah, so the casting director thought that I'd missed a lot of the comedy in it. And that audition I did in Sydney, and I had to do it the same day, and I'd rushed there. It was all a bit, you can tell, I'm a bit all over the place. But the next, so it was about a week later, and I did the next one at Mike's, and you can just see, and that first one, unfortunately, I didn't know my top was going to be basically the same colour as the casting director's was. It's just kind of shitty luck. But, yeah, so I wore a brighter colour, the lighting's better. Well, yeah, you'll see.
Thanks, Stanley.
It's just a little bit more on the ball, and I think it's more confident. I guess I knew the piece is better, lighting's better, it makes a difference.
Yeah, in terms of directing, I mean, like, we kind of, sometimes you can get into trouble if someone turns up and they haven't prepped properly and will kind of like work the scene, work the scene, and work the scene, to the point where we say, okay, we've got that take, but you've done it 10 times. It's not really giving the casting director a true reflection of what you can do, because we have helped you, we've pushed you to that place. I mean, yes, we want to help you, but you know, you imagine doing a reread and we have to move you back up that scene again, and then you know have to you go to callback, you know, and you're on your own. It's like so. What we kind of find is a little direction is enough sometimes, you know, and yeah, like it's dangerous to over self-taking, I'd say. You know, as we talked before, your own charisma is what has to shine on the screen the most, and that confidence comes from all the things we talked about, of the research, by identifying the material and being a great actor, you know, as well.
I'm very careful about that. And usually if I do offer any kind of direction, it's usually in question form. I usually just ask a question and see if you can see if there's an answer to it in the performance. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Cool. Yeah, and in terms of sort of like projects receiving self-tests, don't just send them to us. Do make sure that you send them via your agent. I mean, even if the agent hasn't asked you, you talk to a mate and they're doing one, call your agent and say, is it okay? I mean, your agent can maybe come back to us and say, they're really keen to do one, would you see it? For the most part, I'd say yes, but maybe if you're completely wrong for the role, just for X, Y, and Z reasons, we will give you feedback, you know, maybe later. But we're so busy, so focused on this one character, you know, we probably will only see the people that we want to kind of look at, plus the other recommendations. You know.
Would you suggest that, Catherine, that it's best to go through your agent, through you, or the equivalent of you? It's probably best.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Unsolicited self.
Yeah.
Yes. No, not necessarily. They're going to get seen.
They're bound to get deleted, and people get this off, get irritated.
So,
I mean,
There
I'd say
used
good
to
on
be-
you for trying, but like, there's a process. So
There used
once
to
you
be
go-
a website where you could actually sort of submit self-tests on your own strength, but even in that case, if you're doing that, you should always let your agent know. Always be in communication with your agent about the roles and parts that you are trying out as an actor, and whether they should be representing you in every case. Yeah. And that goes for theatre as well. And we haven't really touched on that, but self-taping in theatre is also happening in a much larger way too. And this,
done for years.
and even this year, our Henry V that we did at Globe Theatre was one of your actors that self-taped from London.
Oh, Jennifer.
How close did he shoot it? Because we tend to do theatre self-tape quite wide, just cause.
Yeah,
Did
it was.
Did you cut it a lot?
No, she did it over in London, sent it to me, and she did it quite wide because she actually sent me 5 versions of the scene, just with different levels of intimacy, because she didn't want to pitch it to. She just wanted to try out different things and show a range. And in that case, I was really grateful. I was pretty much cast her on the spot because she showed me just how dynamic she was out of those tapes. Now I think out of 70 auditions, we had a dozen self-tapes from around the world, and we cast 4 of the cast out of them.
The other thing that can happen is Skype auditions.
Skype will be.
Yes, I've done recalls, and I'm sure you guys have done this or taken them
I haven't actually.
via Skype, which is quite strange. And I did one once for, you know that
So
ad?
you were there in front of the laptop?
Yeah, but I can tell you one, you know the Yeah Now ad, the guys here, No More Beersies for Me, remember that ad? 2 guys, so they were 2 Aussies got cast on that, but I was an acting coach, so they were in Melbourne, and there was the producer on one, they were in the room on their own, there was a producer on one computer, a director on another computer, me on another computer, so they had 3 computers, I was at dialogue coaching, they were doing the scene with 3 different heads looking at them from different parts of the world via Skype, and they got the role. But that's right, yeah, so you're being directed by someone somewhere else in the world.
We find the Skype callback is basically, that's like a chemistry test. You know, before that's when after that they'll probably fly you into camera tests and that sort of thing. And it's more of a conversation with the director for them to kind of get to know you. You know, they're quite creepy. You know,
So
it's quite cool.
are you usually sitting in front of the laptop, so it's kind of you?
No, you
No,
stand
we shoot them and run a firewire through the laptop. So we just turn the laptop around so the director can talk to the actor.
Yeah.
So the director can see through the camera.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and because you want to have quite a good quality one,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to, like record the Skype version and make it crappy. But, yeah.
Cool. Well, I have a questions, so I'm sure there's a few. Please, we'll have to put your hand up.
Just before we do questions, you've got a handout, which is something that I've prepared for the courses that I teach on self-taping. It has a lot of the technical stuff, yeah? Really, really technical stuff, nitty-gritty. The stuff about, like, they don't want a huge file, but most of the cameras that you get nowadays are all ultra-high definition, and you end up shooting a minute and you've got half a gigabyte of material. When the person who needs to see it needs to have a file that is 30 megabytes or 50 megabytes, and no more than that. So this information gives you enough, hopefully gives you enough tools to be able to shoot, take it into your computer, or even nowadays, on your cell phone with certain apps you can get, depending on your phone, the quality of your phone, you can compress the video, add your titles, and get it to the size it needs to be, but also put it into the file sharing systems that your agents are using, that the casting directors are using. Okay, so that paperwork covers all of that information. So let's.
Thank you.
That is a real treasure trove.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
That stuff.
Quick question.
Yeah.
On those, there were no IDs as such. Like when you go to Mike or something like that, you do your ID, your name, etc. to the camera. Is that something that you should do? Because you've had names, you've had your name, and then
Do cards, we do the ID.
Yeah,
Right.
but generally it's at the end.
Okay.
Sorry, I think that each of those, I don't know whether yours do, Tandy, but mine have IDs at the end, and they usually want to see, they usually specify, if they specify to have an ID, it starts in the wide, goes down the body, up, into a close-up, you say your name, your agent, your age, maybe, well, maybe, I don't know.
Usually
That's
that's
what
the
I
age.
thought.
That's
There was nothing there, so I thought,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, we
I can show you one if you like.
I don't always do them.
Yeah.
No, I find them a
Same.
bit demeaning.
Yeah,
I hate them, I hate doing them, but sometimes when they're requested I will always do them, but I'll put them at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes I'll do them, generally, is this a horrible generalisation? The higher end the project, the less they will be required.
Occasionally, if they don't know you, they may want it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they want to know your physical shape, so a quick pat, but you don't have to be doing the whole moment, like
You
with
never
the prison
do.
blades. You can just do, straight up and down.
Another thing with IDs that I personally do, although it's not usually requested, is that if it's an American production, an American accent, then I will usually do the ID with an American accent too. Because I don't want anything to jar the person viewing its head out of me being an American character in this American story, if you like. That's just what I do. But sometimes you do, like we've talked about doing self-tapes before, where you do an American accent version and a New Zealand accent version as well.
Well, that's becoming more and more, how diversity is the key buzzword. They're wanting to see you do it in your own accent now, which is great. So you'll do a New Zealand read and a US read, and that's when you've asked for chuck a New Zealand first, do your ID.
I can tell you that won't be the case in Australia. So for Australian work, they'll want you to say that.
Or a cliche New Zealander.
Yeah, well, that's right. Slightly half of it.
Is your one an Aussie one?
Yeah. Just a little bit of this one. Just a little bit. This is just one. Great start. If I had anything, this is one. Let's watch like a little bit the most. This is so. That was very strange. I got that part, and the thing is, when I met the director, said, "You're a Kiwi. You're not an Aussie."
There was one thing that was interesting about that was it looked like it was being handheld.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Gareth.
How far away was Gareth reading, was it?
No, it was.
See,
That
I
was
like
Oscar
quite
Wilson.
a way away.
Yeah. I think maybe long as enough. But
Oh, yeah.
anyway. But I didn't do any ID on that one, and I got told off by my Australian. So you did do an ID. It was funny that I didn't because I didn't know it was a Kiwi. Anyway, yeah, thanks. Okay, any more questions or anything? With self-taping.
One thing I would say is if you're doing an accent, it better be a good one. Yeah. So as actors, we just have to keep practicing. And US accent is so hard. I find it so hard, so I just have to practice. When I'm in my car on my own, it's my practice time. Whenever you can fit it in, just keep talking to yourself like a mad person.
I don't know if you've heard, we do like as we call it, prep for pilot. It's a clinic that we do every Wednesday. We're not actually doing it 3 Wednesdays. We thought once a month would be enough, but it's been so popular. Come and join us if you want to. Get a link to a Dropbox, and there's scripts in there, and you come and do like a 10-minute scene, practice US accent. Yeah. So we can fit 12 people in the class, everyone has a crack at it, and then you watch the test back, and it's really good. It's like an acting gym, people coming back and working on stuff, Carl.
In some ways, the more time you can spend in front of a camera, the better. You listen to your iPhone or cell phone, practicing. And if you've got time to do this sort of thing or on your own with your friends, because really it's getting in that zone.
Yeah, and seeing yourself.
Yeah.
Seeing
yourself in front of the camera.
Hearing yourself, hearing that accent.
Yeah, but don't do a self-tape like a selfie. Don't look at the screen while you're doing it. And don't try and play all the parts, for God's sake. I've seen them. I've seen people do the selfie audition, but then you'll hear them edit in themselves doing the reading lines. And it's just, nothing removes you more from the essence of the scene and the essence of your performance than that. It just needs to flow seamlessly so that from the first 2 seconds, they breathe into your performance and are engaged.
Yeah, we took a lot of self-tests. So we held sort of like a little, we went to the States the first time just to meet casting people, and we thought we'd better take something over here, to tell them, we're from New Zealand. And the idea was, what can we do for you? So we kind of said, well, do you know what the first question was? Do you know what sort of the acting stock is like in New Zealand? What do you think the ethnicity is like? And they kind of like, the best request, or the best answer was, is it like Denmark? Maybe? Like they had no idea about our ethnic mix, So we took a lot of people over into this quick little self-tests, and it was amazing watching them, watching these executives down on their knees in front of our laptop going, I love her. And again, it was within the first 2 seconds. And they were always doing things like giving them a name, like, oh, that's Sean Penn's daughter, or that's Laura Linney's sister, or that's a brown Angelina Jolie. Oh my God. But that was great. They are fans. They're excited, And what we offered them was a little window into, Australia come through New Zealand.
The other thing is, I was just thinking of what you're saying about that in regards of putting your best foot forward also, is that it doesn't matter the order of the scenes that you've been given. Make sure you put the most dynamic thing first. They don't mind if it's not chronologically correct.
Yeah. We can't say. Yes, you're excited. You've got the chance to do the test, but don't make it such a big thing. It needs to be effortless. It needs to have that feel of effortlessness. And I guess that, if you're not testing or you're not doing audition reads or lots of auditioning all the time, these kind of self-tests can suddenly whirl into really big things for you, and that can really come off you. You're a bit laboured, you're a bit too wanting the part, all that sort of stuff.
That's something Nicky Barrett said, who's an Australian casting director who came here for the casting hothouse, which some of you may have done, and they happen every couple of years for Americans and Australians and Kiwi, and you guys are involved with one of the other ones. Anyway, she was saying that when she goes to smaller places in Australia, say like Perth or Brisbane, or more isolated places, she finds that the actors that are practice don't audition much, so they make it too important. Everything. So it's really got to act in this audition. And with the ones in Sydney and Melbourne are more used to that, and that can be a thing. I think very, very good advice. To have a sort of casualness about it as well.
Yeah, but the flip side is you don't want to get too slick. You've still got to have your real heart.
Sure.
You've got to have whatever it is that makes you you. You've got to be prepared to kind of crack that open and just let it be.
Another thing is that I actually do monitor everything, all our self-tests. Most of the self-tests we do in-house, but sometimes we can't because the actor is literally not available somewhere else.
Yeah.
But actually, some tests I won't send. It's better to not send a test than to send something that's
They're doing you a
not
favour.
good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And I know that with the manager I work in with Australia as well, they'll go, oh, we did a self-test with your plant, whatever, and it just wasn't right, so we got them in, they might have got them in 3 times to keep doing that self-test until they felt it was, at the level that was right for the casting.
And will you let your actors know if it's not going forward?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah, but you
But
don't.
I always let my actors know when they've done a good test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it? I don't know. Would it be instructive for them to know?
Yeah.
Because you've got to. I mean, you've got to be thick skinned. You've got to know.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, that's not true, because it's not too many that we don't send. But yes, I do. I'm just thinking about it now. Yes, I do.
It can be political.
Quite
can't it?
disappointing,
Good
But
to know that, because then you go, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just wasn't up to scratch.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Well, we'll ring the agent if someone's come in and worked for half an hour and hasn't quite got there, and you kind of feel like, oh, well, we'll take the money off. Yeah, okay, but it's like, but we'll call the agent and say, look, you check it out. This is the scene that I kind of thought was the best reading of it, but you tell me what you think. And so we'll kind of like, I would err on the side of tell the actor, but it all depends on your relationship with women. I just.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. You know your actor and what they can
I
cope
think,
with.
as I say, it doesn't happen very often, and I know, like quite recently, I didn't send one, and I discussed it with the actor.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, yeah,
Yes.
I've got a question. How often do they happen? Because I haven't done many in my time. I mean, I've done 2 when I think
Well,
about
the
it.
interesting thing about New Zealand casting, for years, it's been the exotic casting. That's where the Australian and America has looked to us for, what they call the exotic casting. And it's opened up more now to more European actors, but then in general it will be younger actors unless they've got a huge profile.
Although I found lately what's also been happening is I've done a self-test for a project being shot here,
Yeah.
where they just didn't have time to see everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Meg, that's right, Meg, they filmed Meg. They said, well, Liz hasn't got time, but she's happy to receive the self-test copy.
I said that in my beginning.
Oh,
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
We're not millionaires, and we really want to see you work. And so it's a really good process that's occurring. Did you mean when did pilot season happen, or when did self? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I sort of need
Okay.
answering.
Because it's mainly kind of like head through, but basically it's February, March, so that they will then start shooting their pilot from April to May, screen the networks to go, maybe they'll start making the full season from August, let's say, or September. But pilot season is pretty much all year round now, because the networks, they kind of drove pilot season, but it's the Netflix and HBO that are kind of like they're putting things straight.
Strangely, isn't it, with Netflix, who are investing billions of dollars in their own productions now.
Yeah, so they just go
Really good quality.
And they're
stuff.
starting to make stuff in Australia, and actually they're going to possibly start making stuff in New Zealand too.
Is that like Wolf Creek?
Yep, and that's right. And they're going to stand, and also Netflix is looking to. Now this is the landscape will change away from in this part of the world from network TV, TV 1, 2, 3. And there'll be more of this cable-like channels wanting local content. This is a fantastic development.
Yes.
So that is when things will start to change, I reckon, in the next few years, where they'll be wanting more people to be submitting auditions as well. So that's.
I think it's fair to say it's grown and grown and grown in the last 5 years. There's definitely more happening.
Yeah.
I'm getting asked more and more times for it to happen. So I think that also key to that is making sure that somehow, and this is a bit of a catch-22, that your film profile is current, so that there is stuff there that's good quality work where they can go, oh, I can see where you can fit. Let's go to that person. And in that case, that's where showreel and showreel pieces and scenes can come in that actually look like finished product, whether they've been produced or not.
This might be a good segue into as we go for an hour.
Lovely.
Well, were there any final questions though? There was one at the back.
Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm just wondering, you touched on it slightly before with the fight scene, but if there is instruction in the script saying you know, to do some sort of big action, what do you suggest to do?
Ooh, just like a sketch or approximation, I'd say. You know, like, same with costuming, don't turn up as the Viking and, you know, just have a t-shirt or like a top that kind of like has a vibe to it. Similar with, you know, you don't want to step out of the frame too much, you don't want to profile too much, so you might want to maybe just like get the camera to pull out just a little wider. You don't want your reader to kind of get into the frame too much either.
No.
So you're just going to have to be smart in the approximation of it.
You don't have to religiously follow the big print or stage directions at all. In fact, sometimes it's better not to, because you'll be just sort of, yeah. So I don't think you should kind of, that's right, to sketch it in, absolutely.
More than anything, I mean, a lot of action sequences require cut to reaction. So it's making sure that the reaction, that here is in the right space. So if it says do a kung fu kick, you don't do a kung fu kick, but we see the build up to it, and we see the response after it. That continues the energy in the scene.
I mean, similarly, like things like props, you know, sometimes props can really help you, but they can be really kind of like not off-putting, but they can take us away from the scene. Particularly like in close-up, if someone's drinking a glass of wine, and you don't see it at first in the close-up, just this hand comes up, and it's like,
Would you guys suggest never mind?
yeah, never mind, but
Doesn't work,
choose your props
Yeah.
carefully.
Yeah.
I'd say, guns are always fun. Make sure the gun looks kind of good, because we'll just sit there laughing at the gun. If it's a shitty warehouse one.
That's a good point about costume. So if you're playing a doctor, don't wear a white coat. So, or a policeman, it's just an essence of the character.
A
Isn't it?
suggestion,
Yeah.
an offer,
Yeah.
but you don't have to,
We've had them all come in like a little bo peep coming through the door. It's good. It's like, wow.
But that's, quite often there'll be a scene which has kissing in the big print or something like that, and I never do that.
Right.
I just sort of, suggest the intimacy around it, I guess.
That's the recall, maybe. If
If they give me someone kissing me, then
It's Ramsey's time.
Before we do move into showreels, though, can I just mention to you all that what you've seen in terms of these casting tapes, they are kind of confidential and private videos, and with any self-taping or anything like that you are doing for casting agents, just make sure that it does follow the correct private channels.
Yes.
And that they don't become public, because it can not only kill your chance of the audition. You know, don't put it up on YouTube for God's sake.
This is a
And
password.
often don't even tell people that you're doing it.
this is
Sometimes
exactly.
not even divulge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in some cases, and I've heard of this, you know, someone doing that publicly, posting publicly, has actually killed the production, and from their career.
what?
So-
From confidentiality?
Yeah, from blowing the project to the public. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people signing NDAs for auditions
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
And lots of your sites have got your agents' names.
It's quite ironic. We had one quite recently, and I didn't even get to see the audition piece.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
When the act has to sign an NDA. I had to too, actually, because I'm dealing with. But I didn't even get to see.
Was it a New Zealand project or?
No, it's not.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, people can still ask questions if we go on to showreels, if anything to do with self-taping as well. Yes.
So just in terms of framing, I noticed some of them, it was more like close up and it was kind of side on, and some of them was kind of more in front, it was more back. Like, I'm just wondering like what's kind of ideal, or does it change depending on what kind of thing?
Well, if you're not given any instruction as to whether they want you to start to a wide and go into an MCU, which is, you know, that can be a standard instruction,
Yeah.
then you would generally enter the scene in the MCU, not change the frame size, frame yourself a little bit off centre camera, looking through the lens of the camera to the other side is usually how I do it, so that your eyes are really engaged with the lens.
Yes, it's close to the lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my reader to be right next to the lens if possible.
Yeah.
And so a medium close-up is what, probably standard?
Yeah,
Close-up?
so there.
In the shoulders?
Usually I'm just doing things in 16:9 ratio, although
Yep.
I did see one, your one was was 3:4 ratio.
Depends a little bit on the scene. Sometimes if it's an intimate
Yeah.
scene, you could go a little closer. But
Yeah. Yeah. But generally, if they want to see the whole of your body, they'll ask for it in the ID, and then want it to go in close. But sometimes they will say things like start in a wide or go to an MCU. So in that case, yeah, you've got to have someone who can help you to achieve that, someone who knows how to use the camera. And if they're asking for that, then using a cell phone is going to be a bit crap because they have to go like that to zoom it in. And so you know those sorts of considerations then start to come into play. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's a bit of a segue, sorry, to Showreels. So, Showreel was a funny old thing they always did on VCR and used to, put them together and used to. They were very. They had to try to beg the TV company to, because nothing was online, to get the original, go to the original beta tapes or something.
So we're showing our age.
I'm showing my age.
The music at the start.
Yes, so, but now, people go, well, what is the point of Showreels? And a lot of my Kiwi actor friends say, oh, there's no point, very noticing. But what's happening now is, the example I gave earlier, is it's world casting. And Gray alluded to it. It's worth getting an IN page. Showcast and casting networks, for those of you who don't know, are websites which have your profile and links to things called credit clips, if you want to have those, which you can put like 30 seconds a minute of examples of work you've done. You could also put on a show reel there. So this is something that's extremely worth having. And when I went to Australia a few times, this discussion out with cast members says they don't know the actor, they will look at the show reel. They'll probably only watch 30 seconds of it or a minute. So it's like the self-test, the beginning is the most important thing. Got to start well with the best thing you've got. And you can edit scenes if you have got existing material, you can get it off online, which is if it's become public, it's already shown and you're allowed to do that. I've done a show reel and I didn't realise this, but it was copyrighted and then went through IMDb and then they got permission. They got permission for it and it said copyright approved. I didn't even know this, which is amazing. They've done that. Yeah.
I had the same experience today. I just thought for today I would cut together a new one, and it was for Underbelly New Zealand, and I just put it on YouTube and had a copyright infringement notice put on there, but it was from this production company I've never heard of, but they control online distribution to YouTube of television content. So they have the right to put ads on my showreel. So straight to Vimeo with that.
So it's worth doing. It's probably, as a general thing, around you don't need much more than about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And the tips, if you could, I mean, it depends what you've got. Like, you may just have one line in a scene. I've watched some showreels of America where the actor is with a very famous, with George Clooney something going on and said, your coffee's ready. That's all they've got. But they put that in because, but then that's still something, and you can edit it a bit and make yourself more of the star of the scene.
Yes. No, that is absolutely key.
You can.
Do not use a scene in your showreel that sells the actor you're acting with. It just, but if you have scenes that you support an actor that is the main thrust of the scene, sure you can subtly change it. I mean, I'll go in. I did this for one guy, I won't say who had a scene with quite a famous American actor, but I made his head larger every time I cut back to it.
Really?
Yeah. So I made him more dominant in the scene.
Oh, that's
Just by doing that, I just enlarged his shot just 25%. Every time I cut back to him. So it's just one subtle thing.
Never have a montage like some of the they have like music, and they never do that. It makes people see a second, they'll turn it off. You can just maybe start with your name, I think, or like an intro very simply. But it's worth doing, guys, because people, you might think all the cast people know New Zealand. We've got to think globally now. It's beyond New Zealand. We're a part of the world, and also sometimes an agent. You might want to get an agent overseas. And the show, I mean, I got an interview with my Australian agent. I was on set in Australia. Somebody said, oh, Cameron's looking for an Australian agent. The woman said, well, my husband's an agent. Can you email me your showroom now? I sent to him now, and I'll let you know at the end of the day if he wants to see you. Luckily, I had that. I can just email my phone. Luckily, I had it ready to go. I had that opportunity would have gone. and it was good enough to get me in the door for an interview. And it was actually based on my show reel. So it's really got to really go. If you haven't done much yet, you can make your own stuff, and I know people do that.
Yeah.
Again, it has to be good. It has to be simple, a bit like the self-test. But that is enough again to show you off. It's all about, in a way, this marketing of yourself and connecting with yourself and being proactive, not waiting for the phone to ring. And it's a great tool. And because it's so easy to edit your own stuff online on the computer, online,
You can choose, like, depending on the kind of actor you are, you can choose the scenes within that 3-minute slot, be it one, 2-minute scene and one 1-minute scene, or 4 45-second scenes. Choose them based on where you think your strengths are and your strongest performances. And that might show that you fit a sort of character category, a box, or it might show you have a really diverse range. And for me, I always try and go with my showreels range, and a lot of actors tend to come to me for their showreels who have that kind of range and they want to be able to show it, but make sure it's very filmic as well.
Yes, question, yes.
Well, I was just thinking about it because I have to say I've just been told I need to change my show reel by a friend who's a director. And I'm looking at it going, I totally get what you're saying and it looks too grainy, and why have I got this really bad quality of film, even though they've all been shot in film.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's easy to get it, but where do you get them?
Right.
To be fair, I've got some recent...
I always, with any of the film and TV work I do, my agent is really good and proactive and does do all requests for, and with the contracts that we have now, it's built in that actors have to be able to source from a certain time period their scenes to use as showreel material. So agents can source that, and it shouldn't cost anything. It doesn't cost me anything.
Well,
It can come out on DVD.
It's a big charge for us. If it hasn't been released on DVD yet.
Okay.
And some things don't come out on DVD.
Yeah. Like I'm waiting for one that needs to come out on DVD before I can access it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But apart from that, you're saying you've got stuff on film that needs to be put into a digital space, or
I
that's
suppose
really
just the whole range of it, like whether or not. No, to be honest, I probably should seem professional about whether I just use my most recent stuff and blah blah blah, and
Sure.
the diversity. But again, it's like if I want to see tastes of something which I thought might have been well acted, but it's from further back.
I think in general it's actually better to have the most recent stuff.
Yeah.
Just because
What you can do right now is the most important thing. I mean, I can't do the sword fight scenes from Hercules from 10 years ago that I was doing, so that's not going anywhere near my show reel, But
you're right about saying, like, we probably will only watch 45 seconds of my attention span will go.
unless it's really
So think of it, your show reel is just like a living document that you have, that you can, and it shouldn't really be a history lesson. It should be like it should be alive. So I think that's what they're saying. It's like have your current stuff, your good stuff at the start.
in this day and age, it is so easy just to keep re-editing it. Take
Yeah.
one thing off,
And
put a new
version
thing on,
yeah.
you can change it every 6 months.
Question here, yes.
So basically, if you've worked on an international production that hasn't come out yet, you then either go through your agent to get you your scenes,
You won't,
or
you have to wait.
or you have to wait for it to come out. What if
Yeah.
it never comes out on DVD and it's been shown on TV?
you know.
How do you...
If it's been
There are
shown on
ways-
TV, it'll be existing somewhere. You have to find. Look, there's ways to do it through your agent to get hold of the producer.
Because you're on one level, it sounds like you're saying it's really easy. You can just do it. Every 6 months you should be doing it. But on the other
If
hand,
you've got
Material.
If you've got the material, and that material, you have to start with the highest quality picture and sound image that you have. Because again, just like the self-tapes, you're taking something that will end up being 1 or 1.5 gigabytes, and you have to compress it down to 30 to 50 megabytes. And that's a standard for it to be able to play it off an agency website, for anybody to be able to play it off Showcast or anything like that. It has to get down to that size. And really, I suggest, and I think that, you should start and sit down with a professional and start the process there. If you finish the process yourself, it can go there. But in terms of gathering the material, some people like me, for example, I have certain I can access things through certain networks that I have as a producer and as a director that aren't necessarily accessible to actors.
You can always ask. It's always worth asking, and the company might give it access. Send you a file.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll email you a file of your scene.
Yeah.
No, it's enough there. No, just ask. I think it's worth asking. I reckon also too, getting feedback. I always go to my agent and go, I do a rough assemble. What do you think?
Yeah.
And they say, well, actually the scenes are really short and they're not seeing enough of you. No. Well, they go, we really like this one. We don't know that clip. It doesn't do you any advantage. And they're my first port of call is my agent.
Yeah.
Maybe my friends, my agent. They're the ones selling me. They're the ones who could be promoting me. Yeah. So I trust me. Yeah, which one do you want to show? The latest one?
The 2016 demo.
You show the latest. I don't show all of it. Just before you show it.
Put it in focus, one.
Just before you show it. This is why I just cut together an Aussie one. Just looking for Australians and we work over there. Now the thing is, the first scene really does show off the other actors more than me. But the reason I've chosen it, and I've got to keep it forever, is because it's Rate, which is a really good show. It's a character which has just been on, and although the other guy features more, I thought it's the most high-profile thing I've done in Australia. So I'll start with that, even though yes, and then when I get something better, I'll shove it down the line.
Your whole demo, is it all Australian
Yes.
accent? So this one is geared towards Australian stuff.
Specifically, I've got rid of all Kiwi stuff for this one.
Okay.
You don't have to play all of it.
His mother is dying.
Oh, big shit! Everyone's mother dies at some point. Couldn't he bought her flowers or something? Jesus. And what overzealous prick arrested him in the first place? I mean, Jesus, it's in no one's interest to have him incarcerated. He has greased a shitload of palms, Morris.
How likely is he to spill the beans?
It's not a question of it spilling the beans. It's a question of making sure the beans don't talk. That the beans have been strangled with razor wire and shot point blank through their bean skulls in front of their bean children.
This affects both sides. Surely we can shut him down. I mean, the man's already in solitary.
Ed Thompson's never in solitary, Morris. He is connected in arcane ways to everyone and everything in this city. Maybe even this planet.
How are you, Jorge?
It's not Jorge. You sound like a donkey.
Oh, sorry I don't speak Spanish. How do you say
I
that?
don't know, but I know it's not what you just said.
It's Jorge. Say it again.
Jorge.
Sorry, I can't say it properly. Do you want me to call you George?
The way you say it in Spanish is fine.
I love Spain.
When did you ever go to Spain?
I've never been.
You're not going to have any dinner?
Sophie, a word and you shall not hear it from me.
Is something wrong?
On the contrary, how would you feel about representing the camp at a horse event?
The annual Intercamp Horse Orienteering event.
What do you say? Interested?
I love orienteering. I've done it a few times back in Germany.
Great. So you're in?
Of course she's in. Sophie, go out and do Germany proud.
I don't know if I can represent Germany, but I'm happy to represent the camp.
Excellent. I've taken the liberty of filling in the form for you. If you could just sign here and here. If you're placed in the top 3, it'll be great publicity for the camp.
Now, what if she wins?
She won't win.
I won't.
She won't?
Persephone Jones has won the last 3 years in a row. She's the daughter of Camp Waffles owners. Mathematics.
Sounds like a challenge. I'm sure we can take her on. Right, Sophie?
I'll just see how it plays out on the day.
So, set your mind to next Wednesday morning. Because I think it's time for you both to take the next step. From activities officer trainee to activities officer full stop.
Ellen, we are ready to take that step. Right, Sophie?
Couldn't be more ready, sir.
Good. Then I'll see you at the rock climbing wall in 20 minutes.
You can do it, baby.
Ooh, baby, who's the song? Who's gonna love me tonight? Tonight, who's gonna love me tonight?
Yeah, so as I do better work over there, I'll shove the dodgy clips off them. But
that was a nice spread. It's very good, isn't it? Yeah, that's nice. Thank you.
Contrast, do you want to see mine? My draft from today? Just as contrast, because mine goes New Zealand accent, American accent, hopefully.
That'll be useful though, for an international one.
Yeah, cool. All right. And this is just a draft.
You're not getting any promises in writing, and you're not getting immunity from prosecution. We do this my way or not at all.
Well, you can go back to New Zealand then.
Hey, dickhead, think about it. Finish your stint in this little funhouse, what happens then? You'll be deported.
Yeah, back to New Zealand. So
who do you think's going to be waiting for you when you get off the plane? Either you join us or you're against us.
And what if I'm again you?
Then the second you step off that plane, you'll be arrested for the Brigadoon affair, and that's a promise.
What do you want to know?
I was an onslaught wizard until the last patch. And no, they didn't. They nerfed Mana Lightning, which was by far my most favorite bomb of attack because of its high DPS and fast recharge rate. But they also buffed Aura of Steel. I've thought of myself, I've never been a shield wizard before, and I was halfway through the build when all of this happened. And maybe that's why I don't have any magic, because I was halfway through a new character build. And you know what else is weird?
It's hard to pick just one thing, pal.
When we were running for our lives, I noticed that there was no one else in the city.
Apart from all the psychopaths and rapists.
Oh, yeah, well, apart from those guys, apart from the other people like us, apart from the other players, there was no one else. There was no one else. No citizens, no food vendors, no storekeepers, no city guards, no NPCs. There was no one else.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed.
You wouldn't, would you? Being a noob and all.
Scanner, proudly sponsored by the Roper Family Trust. It's not doing it for me.
Doing it?
Got anything bigger?
What were you thinking, Phil? Family name on a card?
The side of a building?
With chunky, right?
No. I'm not into this anonymous rubbish. You're either proud to help out, or you're not.
I like your style. Well, we can discuss all options.
Let's crunch some numbers.
Yeah, you in the red tie.
Coda, how long have you been playing baseball?
My mother says I born with club in hand.
They say you like to play barefooted.
That is right.
Coda, where were you born?
Born on Mammoth Hunt.
Okay. Calm down. Oh, calm down. When Marty pays my boys.
You just said you paid them.
I did, and when they went off to Australia, the authorities confiscated their money. They need reimbursement over there, and I need repaying here. Plus, I want the 30 grand he owes me as well.
Things are a bit tight.
Tight, Pete Bucket! I've been around to his new digs. Very bloody flesh. And where's he? He's off overseas
His own
partying.
business.
Well, as of now, he can transact his business without my backing. I'll organise my own bloody deals.
So that one's a case of a little bit of technical wizardry in there as well.
So to me, I look at that and go, oh, that's more like what I'm thinking of for me. It's like a whole range of stuff as opposed to what you would seem to be just saying, which is the most latest, or the most recent. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, that's all the most recent stuff in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's all stuff that's within, it's within my build right now, my physicality, my range, my character range, my accent range as well.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
When you said most recent, I
you meant
like the last year. No. Otherwise, yeah, okay, cool.
And that's a draft. So I'm not sure about some of that stuff. I need to actually go and talk to my agent about what serves me and what doesn't. You know.
Can I just say, and I know I'm bucking the trend slightly here, I haven't found Showreels useful lately. I guess I used one when I was first going to Australia, and I used one when I was first meeting my guys in the US, but what I think my representatives find more useful now is individual clips.
Credit
Yeah.
clips.
Credit
Yeah, yeah.
Credit clips, because then they can submit those for individual projects, or they'll back up a self-tape for an individual project, and they'll fit the clip to the tone and
Yeah.
style of the
Yeah, and
production.
I always recommend and I always supply when I do showreels for actors, I always supply the individual clips, credit clips as well for the individual use too. I think that's really important because the showreel can show a range or it can gear you towards a certain mindset, but you also have to be, work towards the project you're trying to win the role with.
That's right, and often, again, casting directors don't have a huge concentration span, they just want to
That's
be
right,
wow,
yeah.
whatever, and if you're watching somebody's showreel and the first two scenes are not what you're looking for, it's the third scene in, they're not even going to get to it, so it's actually better to see
So it's
credit
probably
clip.
worth having doing a library up of
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
So you can show the scene where you're playing whatever character available for that scene that you've got there in your data bank.
In fact, I think Showcast that they were talking about anyway, like in Australia for X amount of dollars, it was, you could have your showreel up there or 5 credit clips. And I think Showcast here in NZ are looking towards like 3 credit clips and half
Yeah.
showreel.
No, I've got
Yeah.
credit clips.
Already.
My Thai TV has credit clips to it
Yeah.
through Showcast.
Yeah, it's just a level of payment for the membership.
Well, I reckon if there's any final questions, otherwise we'll just pass over to Melissa. Yes.
Just real quickly, like in terms of showreel services in Auckland, like who is the best? Like who, like top 4?
We've got one of them here. Gareth Williams does showreels. Gareth Williams showreels.
I think Will Wallace.
Will Wallace.
5150.
Yes, Will Wallace.
Yeah, Matt Galanders is also really good. He's done a lot through the
Might
years.
be worth checking with your agent who
Absolutely.
they
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like we often do our actors ones for them.
Yeah, and I tend to do I do a few of the Johnson and Laird ones when I have time and opportunity, because that's my agent. So
Do you do them in-house, Catherine?
Often, yes.
Can I ask a
Yes.
question? As a new actor, if I make a showreel, am I going to get more opportunities to get auditions?
Only if the showreel gets seen.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I'm just waiting for my agent to get in contact with me. And then I asked the other day, how do how do these jobs come about? She goes, I just literally send your photo out. It matches what they want, they ask you. That's all I've been told. So
That's part of it, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're new actor, we haven't heard of you. That's pretty much, we'll get you in on the strength of the photo. So many photos are good.
But then, would you either ask for a showreel, like a new actor, you go, well, we see that it work? If the agent sent you a showreel, would you watch any of it?
Yeah, if is it Melissa? No, who you with?
me,
Yeah.
I represent.
Yeah. If she's really pushing you, she'll say, you've got to see this guy, So of course we'll watch it.
Even if there's watched a minute, 30 seconds of it, then at least have seen something of it.
Yeah.
So it's worth having there.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about self-promotion too, and you can only do that if you put the material together.
I'd say just don't shoot your drama class stuff. Like he was saying, like maybe put do a scene, but you don't give a